Now, of course, I can't speak for every single investor out there, but for myself as a more dividend income focused investor that's looking to build a long-term portfolio to not only cover all my bills, but then some. I'm always on the hunt for different dividend paying stocks and ETFs, of course, that pay consistent dividends. Maybe it's higher yield, maybe it's lower yield with dividend growth, but either way, I want the actual net asset value or the NAV to stay somewhat stable over time or even up because I want my net worth to grow over time along with my total yearly dividend income. Now in this video, I'm going to talk about and we're going to go over a 14+% yielding cover call style income focused ETF that pays massive distributions, or at least has paid them every single month since inception. But on top of that, this ETF has not NAV decayed at all. So if you're looking for something that's more income focused, that's going to raise your total monthly, total yearly dividend income ASAP with a small amount of money invested, make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. Real quick, for those that haven't already, make sure to go to the first link in my description and grab my new dividend investing ebook, where I share exactly how I went from $0 invested to now earning over $6,000 on a monthly basis and over $1 million invested in the markets. Along with the ebook, you're also going to receive my custom dividend tracker, where you can track your dividend progress on an ongoing basis and reach your dividend investing goals. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. Now, as always, maybe some of you guys already know exactly which ETF I'm talking about, but for this video, we're talking about QQQI, or the NEOS NASDAQ 100 High Income ETF, which has officially been trading since late January of this year. Now, I personally came across this NEOS ETF quite a bit ago, and this is because I invested into this ETF's brother or sister, SPYI, which is basically the same exact thing, only it tracks the S&P 500. But because this ETF offers a rock-solid strategy, from what I found early on, I grabbed a few shares right after it came out. Now, because this ETF tracks or references the NASDAQ 100, I figured this ETF is going to be a bit more volatile than that tracks the S&P, which can potentially mean that there could be more upside and or more distribution, which is what investors have seen, like myself, at least up until this point. But to go over some of the basics and to share with you why I like this ETF so much, the ETF pays a distribution every single month, which is very important, especially for my portfolio, because I am looking to use my dividends, my distributions, to cover my bills probably in the next 2, 4, 6, 8 years. So getting distributions and dividends monthly is something that I prefer, although it's not necessarily a deal breaker. The expense ratio for this ETF is 0.68%, so it is pricey, but this is actively managed, and the strategy is pretty involved. Now, the distribution rate, like I promised, is above 14% at 14.14%. And for me personally, with a more higher income focused ETF, even if something like this traded sideways or up a little bit over time, and on top of that paid out 12%, 13%, or 14%, of course, I can't speak for everyone out there, but for a more conservative investor like myself that doesn't love volatility, I'm more than happy with that. Now, to go over the fund strategy, and this is the main reason why I bought into SPYI and this ETF early on. The strategy, although not super unique, has some aspects of it that I absolutely love. So basically, there's 3 parts to the strategy. Number 1 is that the fund seeks to distribute high monthly income generated from investing in the constituents of the NASDAQ 100 index and implementing a data-driven call option strategy. So at this point, it sounds like something similar to that of JEPQ or of course QYLD, but along with that, there's plenty of other covered call style ETFs or option-focused, income-focused ETFs across the entire market that do something pretty similar to this. But number 2 and number 3 is where this ETF differs from a lot of the other funds I even just mentioned, because number 2 is actively managed by NEOS. The fund seeks to take advantage of tax loss harvesting opportunities in addition to utilizing NDX index options classified as Section 1256 contracts, which are subject to lower 60/40 tax rates. Now, along with that, at least up until this point, a lot of the distributions, which I'm going to share with you in a second here, have been paid out in the form of return of capital. So this ETF, as far as taxes go, can be very, very efficient if that's something, of course, you're looking for and or is important to you. Now, number 3, it says the fund utilizes a call option strategy that may include both selling and purchasing NDX index options, which may provide the opportunity for upside capture in rising equity markets. Now, this was the part about this ETF along with the NEOS SPYI ETF that I thought was sort of brilliant. Why not take a little bit of net assets every single month or so and buy some index options along with, of course, selling those cover calls? Because that way you're kind of playing both sides of the market. If the market decides to absolutely rip, you bought some options, so you're going to be able to capture some upside. But on the other side, these typical cover call style ETFs are pretty much going to earn money in the form of premium, option premium, even if the market trades sideways. So I love the fact that it both buys and sells index options at times. Now, if we look at the market price as of right now, it's $52.07. The net asset value is $52.05. So this ETF has not decayed whatsoever, even though it pays a massive, massive distribution. Now, to look at all the distributions since inception, this is of course very important, especially when you're buying a fund that, let's be real here, you're pretty much buying it for income. The first distribution back in February was 59 cents, then 60, then 58, 61, 62, 61, 64, and just recently 60. Now again, these distributions are relatively massive considering this ETF costs just over $50 per share. But also another thing I love about this ETF and the NEOS ETFs in general is that the distributions are somewhat consistent. There's not one month that's 30, one month that's $1, one month that's 20, one month that's $1, etc. And with these consistent payouts, like I was saying earlier, for someone like myself that does want to use dividends and distributions to pay my bills later on, that's going to be much easier for me to sort of generate an idea of what I'm going to be getting every single month. Now this ETF is only up around 3.81% on the next time frame, and remember this ETF has been trading since late January. But even being up 3.81% along with those massive distributions, this ETF has offered a very decent total return since inception. Now to be specific about total return QQQI since inception, which is around 0.72 years now, the total return for this one is 15.06%, the annualized gain is around 21% with dividends reinvested or around 20% with them not. And because of this ETF's unique strategy, I think it's going to do very, very well in the long term and depend on the holdings ongoingly, maybe even move further up into the right. Now, like I sort of mentioned, there's other really high quality NASDAQ focused ETFs that offer a similar strategy, something like JEPQ, of course, we have GPIQ, or even QLD, which has not done all that bad over the last year. But I do truly think that this ETF, specifically because of the unique strategy, I think this ETF can really offer the best of both worlds when it comes to income and upside. But of course, we're going to have to wait and see. Now for me, my personal longer term plan when it comes to the NEOS NASDAQ 100 High Income ETF, which I currently only hold around 40 or so shares of across my portfolios. I'm planning on nibbling some shares here and there, probably gathering more and more shares and building out a larger position. And then if and when we see some massive red in the market, I'll probably go a little bit deeper in my pockets and build out a substantial position then. But for now, this ETF is definitely on my radar and one of my favorites when it comes to the NASDAQ 100 reference cover call style ETFs. So now that we talked about the NEOS NASDAQ 100 High Income ETF, I lastly want to hear from you guys down below. Is this an ETF that we'll find in your portfolio? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.